Hey everyone and welcome. Today we are diving deep into a visa that is, for many, an absolute lifeline for their families. I'm talking about the Subclass 116 Carer Visa. So if you've been thinking about moving to Australia to look after a loved one, you're in the right place. We're going to break down everything you absolutely have to know before you even start.
So, does this question right here hit home for you? Look, understanding the official rules from day one, it can literally be the difference between a successful application and a really tough refusal. Let's make sure you have that clear, solid knowledge you need to even think about moving forward.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. At its heart, what is this visa actually for? Well, it's designed for those very specific situations where care from a family member is pretty much the only real option left. It acts as this crucial bridge for loved ones who are separated by thousands of miles.
Now, the wording you see here is incredibly precise, and it's so important to understand why. This isn't for a short-term illness or a broken leg. Notice those key phrases, long-term medical condition and no other reasonable care options. That means you're going to have to prove that things like nursing homes or community care services in Australia just aren't a workable alternative. The government sets a really high bar here, and for good reason, to make sure this visa is for the most genuine, most urgent cases.
So how does the eligibility actually work? Well, it really comes down to two key people. You can think of them as the two pillars holding up the entire application. You, the person who wants to be the carer, and your relative in Australia who's going to be your sponsor. Both of you have really distinct roles and responsibilities to fulfill. Let's talk about the first pillar, you, the applicant. This is about so much more than just wanting to help out. The government needs to see that you are both willing and, crucially, able to provide what they call ongoing substantial care. This means you have to show that you really get their specific medical needs and can actually handle the day-to-day support, whether that's helping with mobility, managing medications, or personal care.
And as you can probably guess, this isn't a one-way street. You can't just decide to apply on your own. You absolutely must be formally sponsored by your relative in Australia. And this isn't just, a quick signature on a form. It's a formal sponsorship application that has to be lodged and officially approved. They are the essential second pillar of this entire process.
Okay, let's keep building on this. Beyond that critical relationship between you and your sponsor, the Australian government also needs to be sure that you, as a person, meet the national standards that apply to basically anyone who wants to live there permanently. And this check really breaks down into three parts. First up, the health requirement. That applies to you and any family members you're including in your application. Second, there's the character requirement for everyone aged 16 and over. And third, if you're 18 or older, you have to sign the Australian Value Statement, which is your agreement to respect the laws and the Australian way of life. Just so we're clear, these are totally non-negotiables.
All right, we are almost through the main eligibility criteria. This final check is all about your official history with the Australian government. You can think of these as the last administrative hurdles you need to clear before your application can really move forward.
There are two major points here to be aware of. First, if you owe any money to the Australian government, it has to be either paid back in full or you need to have a formal repayment plan in place. No ifs, ands, or buts. Second, your past immigration history really matters. If you've had a visa canceled or an application refused before, it could definitely impact your eligibility. So it's something you have to be completely upfront about.
Now, before we wrap this up, we have to talk about a very specific and really important point that applies to younger applicants. This is a special consideration that the Department of Home Affairs takes extremely seriously.
I'm going to read this to you directly from the source, because every word counts. We might not grant this visa if it is not in the best interests of an applicant under 18. This principle, the best interests of the child, is paramount. What it means is that for any minor who applies, the authorities will do a very thorough assessment to make absolutely certain the visa outcome supports that child's welfare above everything else. So, we've covered the core of it, right? The real purpose of the visa, the vital roles of both the carer and the sponsor, and all those personal checks you'll have to pass. This information right here is your foundation. The big question now is, what's your first step going to be? How are you going to use this to figure out if this is truly the right path for you and your family? Thanks so much for joining me.